Thanks for watching this video. I'm Doug Broad at Nash Community College. In this video, we're going to show you how to... Thanks for watching this video. My name is Doug Broad at Nash Community College. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a dynamic block for a plan view of a masonry fireplace. This video does not necessarily advocate using masonry chimneys as opposed to fireplace inserts or freestanding wood stoves, since they're more efficient, but some clients will require you to make a masonry chimney. These are illustrations from the Brick Industry Association Technical Note 19, Residential Fireplace Design. The figure 1B here shows the plan view, which we're going to work out. Figure 1A is the sectional view. Each view has dimensions that are labeled with letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and so forth. Not all of the dimensions are in each figure. The dimension this way to make a single drawing work for any size fireplace, but when you're doing a floor plan, you need to know the size of the fireplace that's really going to be chosen, not using some standardized dimensions. So we need to use the dimensions down here in table 1. So each column here, A through N, relates to one of the illustrations, one of the figures in the rest of the document. I'm going to show you the end result of our block. I'm embedded in a version 3 of this block. I've experimented with using parametric constraints and parametric dimensions, geometric and dimensional constraints, and I finally settled on that it would work best with just regular dynamic linear or parameters and actions from the block editor. In testing this block, this is how it's going to behave. You choose a lookup parameter and the fireplace will be redrawn as it needs to be done. It will allow for some adjustment above those levels based on your client requirements. I'm going to close that drawing and I'm going to start a new drawing. No template. Edit the current drawing. I'm going to paste some illustrations here so that we can see what's going on. Zoom out. And I'm going to use this as reference material so that you can see all these drawings and dimensions in the same figure. It may not be sufficient resolution for you to read it, but as I zoom in and zoom out, you probably will see it. Let's move those over so that my origin is going to be visible. I'm going to draw the outline in here and then use the offset command and the trim, edit, extend, and mirror to get the rest of this. So polyline from 0, 0, turn ortho on up 4 at 6.5, 16, 11 at 6.5, negative 16, back down 4. Offset 4, and these are nominal dimensions for brick 1, not actual dimensions. And we'll move these illustrations a little bit more. Draw a line from the top here down to 12, 0. Offset that over 26 to the left and 26 to the right, and that'll give me a fireplace that's big enough. Draw from here, turn ortho on, across, and explode everything, and just adjust those grips. Get rid of a few lines here. that we don't need. Offset 4. And 16. Draw a line, offset 8. This is a code minimum. Erase that, fill it. Mirror image is probably the best thing to do here. Let's try that again, mirror image. And fill it. Fill it. Fill it. Extend. Select all for cutting for the edges. Trim. I'll select those two and select those. Add a dimension. It doesn't really matter what you're dimensioning to. Change layer depth points to color 140. Select this object and move it to that layer, and this will be just a reference line for us. Add another line from this point to that point, and from that point to that point. That line will be overlapping another line. Next, move all the objects from that point to 0, 0. And if necessary, I'm moving these over to keep things clear. Now this is what I want it to end up looking like. I'm going to add parameters, as you see here. Let's get going. Before I let go, you probably have a question of why I use 6.5 as a horizontal distance here. Well, the width of the fireplace opening is 24. The width back here is 11, and this is on the first row. So 24 minus 11 is 6.5. I'm sorry, 24 minus 11 is 13. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So this is half of the difference between this distance and that distance. Somehow I got that messed up. Somehow the extend command messed that up. Now it's right. Linear stretch pair. Working from letter A up, I'll go distance, select, and label that A. B is not seen, so I'll do another linear stretch pair from 0, 4 to there. And that's not a stretch pair. Let's do that as a single stretch. 0, 4 up to there. And that'll be distance C. Next, a linear stretch pair from there to there. And that'll be distance D. Now those are all the dimensions that are coming from the table. Now I'll add dimensions that I know from the code. Linear stretch from there to there. And I'm going to call that HE. It doesn't HE. And I'm going to use another one from this point to that point, and that'll be the hearth depth, HD. Now with all those set, it's just a matter of refining the parameters and then selecting the objects. So I'm going to take these two and I'm going to make the base point midpoint, and the distance type an increment, and the distance increment will be different for each one. So let's just select each one. Let's go A. The distance increment will be probably in the neighborhood of 2. Minimum distance is 24 and the maximum distance is 72. So that's how big this is applicable. This will limit me from accidentally making bigger fireplaces. The D, the distance increment will be 1 because it looks like it's odd digits. Distance minimum will be 11 and the distance maximum will be the biggest there, which is 54. C, the distance there is an increment, and it looks like to me the C distance is 16, 18, 20, 22, so 2, and the distance minimum would be 16, the deepest would be 22. So it provides a little bit of variation. The hearth extension, it needs to be an increment 2, and the distance increment we could do 2 or 4, and the distance minimum would be 8, and I don't know whether you need a distance maximum, but there's some practical limits. The depth, the code mandates that the minimum be 16, and it doesn't mandate a maximum. I'm sorry, minimum is 16, that's right, and the distance increment would be 4. Now, when a fireplace opening is over 6 square foot, then this has to be 20, but you could make it bigger. So I've got all these set. Okay, now I need to add objects. Now, a little tricky here. So, do you see when I hover over this, it gives me the left point of that parameter. So right-click, new selection set, CP for crossing polygon. Pick over here, go straight up to the top, go over a bit, and then turn ortho off, and go down here so it crisscrosses. And then crossing polygon, do the same thing. Next, do the right. Action selection set, new selection set, crossing polygon, but this time you start on the right side here, go up, and then maybe over a bit, and then down. Hit the enter key, then CP again, pick, 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 enter. Enter. Here, again, a little complicated, but we can just use a rectangular selection from pick here to pick here, and then a crossing, pick, pick, but we need to remove, that's a shift select these two. Again, the same thing here, and you can pick from top to bottom, as long as you go from right to left, and then shift select to remove those two objects. For the HE, we want to select, and you can use a rectangular selection here. Feel free to turn off the object snap, and then shift select that. And then here, and then here. And finally, we go to an action and add a stretch action for this on that point, and select a crossing window here, and then shift select that line. Now, select the action and then change the angle offset to 180. Save the block, And I'm going to say this is Fireplace for plan. Test the block. Ignore all this because that's going to be deleted. Notice I can go over this way. It's making that wider. I can make this wider. For some reason it looks like it's doing something screwy with this. So I need to make sure that I didn't accidentally select that parameter. Most of the things look like they're working right. So let's look at this one again. That looks okay. And let's look at this one. That looks okay. I'm not sure what's happening there. Let's go to this one. Does look like it selected that because of this, because of the increment. So let's do it again. So let's reselect this one. Crossing polygon. Pick, 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 enter. CP, pick, 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 enter. And then we'll remove or shift select this. Now test the block. There we go. So that's what it should look like. And there's some problems here, but as long as the next thing we're going to do is going to restrict those values. So finally, we add a lookup set. Right click, display the lookup table, and add properties. So I want to add all these properties. And let's go down the list. 24 by 24, tab, 26 by 24, tab, 28 by 24, tab, 30 by 29, tab, 32 by 29, tab, 36 by 29, and I'll go over here and start doing it over here. 24, we're skipping dimension B and going to C, 16 and 11 and 8 and 16. And of course those are code mandated, they're not in the table. So 26, 16, 13 and 8 and 16. 28 and 24, sorry, 16 and 15 and 8 and 16. And here we get to a size that's bigger or equal to than 6 foot opening. So if you multiply 30 by 29 divided by 144, you get slightly over 6. So the next one will be 30 and 16 and 17 and 12 and 20. That should be 20. And then 32 by 16 and 19 and 12 and 20. And 36 by 29. Sorry, not 29. Let's mess up. 16 and 23 and 12 and 20. So it's easy to make mistakes if you're not careful, and you can't copy this data from Excel. So don't worry about it, can't do it. Just to show you a little bit more, 40. I'm going to pause the video and finish the table. So there's the table that's completed, and again, I've got sizes here, and over in the video I've got some duplication here That's because two horizontal sizes have the same height. This is what the numbers are in the table. Test the block, and they seem to be operating correctly. And I can make the hearth as big as I want it. If you don't want to see the grips here, I would just turn those off. For example, you really don't want to control these. The only thing you really want to control is here, but the best thing to do is turn off all these grips and just do the lookup table and leave these grips. Ultimately, at this point, you just need to, let's go ahead and close the test block, get rid of the images, test it again without the images, and it should work. And you may want to add the hatch. This space here and this space here is for grout, if you want to hatch grout. But the hatch will work if the hatch is associative without including it in the selection set. So I hope this has helped you. I'm going to save my block, close the block editor, and save the drawing. Thanks for watching.